Hello, this is Todd Shank from Premier FPL. I'm going to be bringing my Week 11 Premier League fantasy tips here, and I think what I'd like to start out with is Manchester City. In addition, I'm going to be going over some goalkeepers to look at, possibly looking at Eden Hazard and maybe some of the mid-price midfielders again, and then also looking ahead to the fixtures past the international break. So I guess first thing starting out is yes, next week there is no Premier League. There's no fantasy Premier League going on because we have yet another set of pointless international fixtures coming up. Um, yeah, I am not a fan of internationals. I'd much rather watch the Premier League than any boring international matches out there, including the World Cup. I know that isn't really a popular view, but that's just the way that I feel about it personally. All right, anyway, moving on to Manchester City. Yeah, they, of course, have the, I guess, problem of having too many good players in their team, and that means that there's been the problem of rotation for FPL managers here. Um, the two biggest issues have been Gabriel Jesus and Sergio Aguero, as well as Leroy Sané and Raheem Sterling. Um, and the problems here are with them being rotated, having to choose from those four players is very difficult. Definitely advocating having the maximum three Manchester City players in your squad. They're just too good. Um, who knows? Maybe they'll be the next team to be unbeaten in a season, or at least in a Premier League season. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I mean, so far they have been pretty much untouchable. Just that one draw against Everton to start the season. All right, so I mean, the first thing is that he's going to rotate. I've tried to look at some of the just trying to see if there's any rhyme or reason for his rotations, but I just have not been able to find one. Um, I mean, you have Aguero who plays 120 minutes against Wolves in the League Cup, but then comes out and plays in last weekend's Premier League match, plays again in the midweek. So I don't even know what's going to happen if he's going to start this weekend or not. Um, so I do have Jesus in my team. Captained him last week, picked up 1 point. I thought, so here after game week 8 is when I decided to wildcard, brought him in, and he's picked up 2 points. I think I've captained him both weeks, so it's picked up an extra 2 points. That's 4 points. Not worth it. So I'm actually thinking about that I might drop him. Try to figure out something different. But as you can see, they're playing Arsenal this weekend. I think that is a pretty good matchup for them. At home, they are definitely scoring goals at home. So, yeah, it's just kind of a toss-up there as to what to do. Looking ahead at their fixtures, actually, let me pull up my Week 11 Fantasy Premier League fixtures planner here. So looking ahead, Man City here, they have Arsenal at home, international break. Then they play Leicester, Huddersfield, Southampton, West Ham. Good set of fixtures running up until game week 16 against Manchester United. Definitely want to have all three players in there. All right, so statistically, Sané versus Sterling in midfield. So far, Sané has 6 starts with 4 substitutions. He's played 600 minutes, scored 6 goals, has 15 chances created, a shot accuracy of 57%. His cost is at 8.8, and he's picked up 71 points with 222 bonus points. So all of that is looking better than Sterling, who has just the one more goal than him. But Sterling has 5 starts, 3 subs, 508 minutes played, 7 goals scored, 10 chances created, 47% shot accuracy. But his price tag is a bit lower at 8.2. His points so far are at 57, and bonus points is 197. So as you can see there, Sonny's cost is a bit more, but he's also performing better. And yeah, again, who knows who's going to actually be playing, but I'd say if you're going to choose between the two, you probably want to go with Sane. If you already have Sterling in your team, I don't think it's really worth dropping him right now, at least not for Sane, because the way the rotation has been going, it could be either one starting this weekend. Um, Up front, looking between Jesus and Aguero. Aguero has 6 starts with 1 substitution. He did have a stretch there where he wasn't playing. So, anyway, he has 542 minutes played, scored 7 goals, created 7 chances, 65% shot accuracy. His price tag is 11.8, and he has 59 points with 249 bonus points. Pretty much all of that is better than Jesus, who has played a bit more with 8 starts and 1 substitution for 571 minutes, but that has been, I believe he's only missed 1 match so far this season. But again, coming in for 5 minutes at the end of a match, that's not really helpful for us fantasy players. So he has got 6 goals scored, created 14 chances compared to Aguero 7, 54% shot accuracy, and at 10.5 he is cheaper. So if you want to have him in there but you're looking to save a little bit, then he would be the one to go with. But I don't know that it's really worth it. I think I'm actually leaning towards Aguero. So it's kind of like I'm at the point now where the 2 players who I would rather have are the 2 that I decide not to go with. Jesus has 49 points and 181 bonus points. So, yeah, it's really kind of tough. The thing that I'm actually considering doing is possibly dropping Sterling and Jesus and going with Aguero and Fernandinho. In the midfield, you have Silva, De Bruyne, and Fernandinho. The problem with De Bruyne is his price. At 10.1, that's really steep for a midfielder, especially a midfielder who's not all out attacking. He has just the 1 goal, but his 6 assists is really good. The thing is, I would rather have Silva, who provides basically the same statistics as De Bruyne, but at a lower price tag. Again, 1 goal, 6 assists. Same thing as De Bruyne. Even looking at when you look at the bonus point system, De Bruyne gets a bit more, but even so, it's only a 20-point difference there, and Silva actually has more points. But the guy who I'm really thinking about is Fernandinho. He has the 2nd most minutes of the 3 with 869, while Silva has 872 minutes. But Fernandinho is only a 5.1 for a price tag, and has just 5.4% ownership. So I see him as being more valuable because it frees up more space in your team for some other players. And he has a goal threat. He already has 2 goals, which is more than both Silva and De Bruyne, and he has 2 assists. His bonus points are decent, 203. That's more than Sterling. So even the 15-point gap in points between Sterling and Fernandinho, I feel like is worth it, just to be able to free up some space in my team. Again, I haven't made my transfers. I usually do wait until Friday evening, try to see if I can get the at least some idea of who might be starting. But I am definitely thinking of dropping those 2, since I do have my 2 free transfers here, and might even take a -4 hit there. So, all right, let's move on. Is it time to bring in Eden Hazard? He started out the season injured, took some time to readjust, but the last 2 game weeks he's shown signs of promise. 5 points against Watford, from an assist, and then 11 points against Bournemouth, including a goal and a clean sheet. I'm not really advising you pick him up for this week against United. In my predictions, I think I put that one down as a 0-0. I definitely see Mourinho setting up shop, but I think if anybody's going to score or be involved in a goal for that match, it is going to be Hazard. So if you want to take a risk, take a punt on him now, it would be a good time. Might be a good time to do that. So barring any injury on international duty, which is one of the reasons I really hate the international fixtures, week 12 is a great time to bring him in. Chelsea have primarily favorable fixtures from game week 12 through 27. The two toughest matches they have in there are Liverpool and Arsenal away, Liverpool in week 13 and Arsenal in week 22. So I would say definitely look at trying to bring in Hazard for next week. So that might even be something that I'll try to do as far as clearing out some room to have available to bring him in. Again, might take the -4 hit this week to be able to do that. Sorry, excuse me. Midfielders. As you can see, Man City midfielders dominating bonus points. Even their scores, they're dominating. Mohamed Salah is somebody who I think you should also look at trying to bring in if you can make any room for him. Eriksen too. He's one I had before. I really regret dropping him. Tottenham has some really great fixtures coming up here. Looking over my planner here, Crystal Palace at home this weekend. Their two most difficult matches in here are Arsenal away in game week 12, and then game week 18 they have Man City away. But they're flying high after beating Real Madrid in midweek. They are starting to look really strong. So again, another thing you might want to look at doing is trying to free up room for Kane and Eriksen in the coming weeks, even if you want to hold off and wait for game week 13. So you have some of these other midfielders. Richarlison here, not really performed as well. Did not perform against Stoke, and the goals have kind of dried up a little bit since West Brom. But he is a player that has done well in away matches. His last 2 goals have come in away matches, and they do have Everton away this weekend. So I'm glad that I have him in now. If you wanted to take a chance on Doucouré, he's been kind of hit or miss. Last weekend didn't do very well, but then again, nobody in Watford's team did very well. But yeah, Watford is a team that does have some good fixtures coming up. Zaha is another one that... let's go to Crystal Palace here. So Zaha and Loftus-Cheek are 2 players. Loftus-Cheek doesn't always get minutes, but at 4.5 might be worth having in there. 5.3% ownership isn't too terribly bad. But Zaha has gone up in price. He's up to 6.8 now. Only 4.2% ownership. I think that's mostly because Crystal Palace have been so terrible. But since returning, he scored 2 goals, picked up a total of 17 points in their last 3 matches. And they do have some good fixtures coming up. So Crystal Palace is another one you might want to look at. They got a long string of good matches coming up. So somewhat favorable. If they can turn things around, he is somebody you probably want to make room for in your team. Excuse me. Another player who would be, would be an interesting pick. Sorry, not Leicester. We're going to go to Liverpool here. So Salah is definitely their best player right now in terms of getting you fantasy points for this season. But Daniel Sturridge is a very interesting pick here at 8.0. He's only 0.8% ownership, makes him a huge differential, and it looks like he might be getting more playing time now with Coutinho out. It's going to be tough to say because you have Mane, who might be returning this weekend, could shift things around a little bit. But it also looks like Daniel Sturridge is on penalties. So if he's going to be playing at all, he's going to be an interesting fantasy option, especially in terms of differentials. All right. One of the last things I want to touch on is goalkeepers here. So as you can see, the top two goalkeepers, De Gea and Forster, De Gea way out in front at 61 points. And of course, I mean, he has the ownership's percentage in his 39.5%, far and away the most selected. The next closest is Elliott, and most people have him as their backup keeper since he's only 4.2. I think I actually brought him in at 4.1. So I do have Elliott and De Gea. I got them when they were lower in price, so I do have that going for me. But the one who I'm really going to push, especially for anybody who has a wild card coming up, is Nick Pope. Since Tom Heaton got injured, he has played in their 7 matches. De Gea and Forster have both played in all 10 matches. And the interesting thing is that Nick Pope is ahead of them in saves as well as saves per goal. I'm going to have a lot of these statistics I'll have up on my page on PremierFPL.com under my Week 11 Fantasy Premier League tips. So you can always look at all of those statistics there. But he has more saves at 30 compared to De Gea at 23, Forster at 22. Saves per goal, Pope has 6 compared to De Gea at 5.75 and Forster at 2.2, as well as more catches, 26 compared to De Gea at 24 and Fraser 21. At 4.5, he is a fantastic value, and if you don't have him and you're looking to maximize some points in defense and the goalkeeper, then you definitely want to do that. As you can see here, he is the 10th ranked goalkeeper and has only played in 7 matches this season. So 37 points from 7 matches is just an amazing value for him. As you can see from their ranking system, there are other players that are more valuable, but I've done some other looks at Burnley already this season and how they are giving up shots, but they're not allowing a whole lot of goals. So if he's back there making a lot of saves, he's going to be getting you points. I believe he only has 3 clean sheets, but again, that's 3 clean sheets out of 7 matches. Something to definitely keep in mind. Actually, the last thing to look at here, again, I want to plug my Fantasy Premier League fixtures planner. Looking ahead, there are a few teams that have some really good fixtures coming up. Arsenal have, half decent fixtures. They are starting to score more goals. They do have Lacazette, Sanchez, even Aaron Ramsey in there. You might want to look at making some room for them if you want to. But I would say some of the teams that have the really good fixtures, Bournemouth has some decent fixtures. They aren't. I looked at them last week, and some of their underlying statistics are average. But the thing is, I would say they're average. They are not bottom of the table sort of statistics. I'd say there is some amount of being unlucky, as well as, as Bournemouth, they aren't that great, but they are starting to pick up here. They have a string of decent home matches coming up here against Huddersfield, Burnley, and Southampton. So even if you only bring in a couple defenders, Charlie Daniels is always good value, able to get you points from set pieces. So something to look at. The other teams to look at, Chelsea, game weeks 14 through 21 are all very favorable for them. Even if you look back to, I think I said before, you look back to game week 12, go back even that far, Liverpool away is going to be their toughest match in there. Then you have Crystal Palace, who I have game week 12 through 19 are all very favorable for them. Definitely winnable matches, especially with Zaha back and performing. You might want to look at bringing in some of their players, especially Zaha, maybe Scott Dan at the back. Then you have Liverpool. Their toughest match in there is game week 13. So if you want to go, even this weekend, game week 11 through 18 very favorable for them. Um, they have only allowed 1 goal at home all season. So, looking at Liverpool defenders, I know everybody talks about how terrible their defense is, but at home only have allowed 1 goal. So, somebody like Alberto Moreno, even I mean, I know Lovren is currently being looked at, may or may not make it back this weekend. Clavan is somebody who I've recommended before. He did play last weekend, so he's somebody, especially in home matches, you might want to look at that. So again, if you're playing any daily fantasy or playing a draft fantasy like Taga doing their Taga Perfect 11, you probably want to look at Liverpool defenders when they are at home. The last one here is Tottenham. They again have some really nice fixtures all the way up through, I would say all the way up through Gameweek 21. The only really difficult ones in there are the London Derby away to Arsenal in Gameweek 12, and then Manchester City away in Gameweek 18. And even that one, who knows how Spurs are going to be playing by then. They could really give Man City a go in that game and make it very interesting. So look at bringing in Eriksen, Kane. Trippier is actually doing better than I have Davies and Davison here, and Trippier has actually been playing better. It just seems like a lot of these guys that I decided to bring in for my wild card, have just really not performed lately. I know Trippier didn't play last weekend against Manchester United, but in previous weeks has really put in some nice points. Whereas Davis, same thing, when he's gotten full 90 minutes, he's done pretty well, but had that string there where he was injured. So again, either one of those two, might want to check it out, see which of those is going to be the better pick. Again, I'm not really sure where I'm going to go for this weekend just yet. I have Lukaku and Morata playing against each other. So I may even dump Morata to try to do my Fernandinho move. Or might even start to free up some room for Kane. If I do bring in Kane, I will most likely captain him for the weekend. Otherwise, I might look at David Silva. He's gone a little while without a goal. Seems like he's probably due for a goal. Against Arsenal, good chance could get a set piece goal there if he's able to get a free kick in. But yeah, so I guess that wraps up my Week 11 Premier League fantasy tips. Appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. I'm putting out my tips every week. You can also go over to PremierFPL.com, and I do have my fantasy Premier League fixtures planner up. I'm planning to do a little bit more work with that. Update it, try to get all of the fixtures in for the season. Hopefully trying to get that done this weekend. Yeah, otherwise you can follow me on Twitter. I do my FPL tips on Premier FPL, so you can hit me up on Twitter there. Alright, thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. Wish you good luck and have fun.